There we go. Okay. Robert Thibodeaux, Design Thinking for Churches. That's recording, so I'm not going insane. So we'll get started here. Hopefully you know this. You're here for Design Thinking for Churches. So know the slide. The T isn't backwards. I do know that. Everybody notice? Everybody could read that, right? Everybody knows the word thinking's backwards now? And upside down. Ooh. So, this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to talk about who I am, so you get a little basic of why you're here. So, who, what, and why. We're going to go through design thinking basics. So, design thinking is a very large subject. We're going to baby step introduction to it, and I'm going to talk about how we use it, and you're going to get to play with one of the methods of design thinking. Hopefully the goal of this is get you excited about it, and I can help you find resources. No, this isn't. And now you can sign up for $19.95. So I'll explain to myself this, but this is to get started. There's some good resources, schools, other things. Travis, we can get you hooked up. So, but there are some things you can use right now. So hopefully we'll get some things out of this. We'll do the case study and then, supplement. You can write down what I just said. So I'll do that a lot as I'll say something and realize I had it on the slide. So I will also put these slides somewhere or find a way to get them to you, or you can email me. So these slides, a lot of these, I'm not going to read the slides to you. I'm going to assume everybody here can read. Yes? Okay. So I'm not going to read the slides to you, hopefully. But these are for references afterwards. So who am I? So from a church standpoint, I'll tell you that later. In real life, as some folks here earlier, I wear my big boy clothes. I'm an executive solution advisor for SAP. Actually, I'm the North American analytics hub lead for North America for SAP. If you're wondering what that means, it means 2 years ago they gave me a title instead of a raise. So, but my job, what an executive solution advisor does, is I go to big corporations, a lot of the Fortune, our Global 500, work with them and help them figure out how to do stuff. And people are like, we can never get things done. I wish we were as organized as somebody like a Nissan or an Apple or a IBM or a Toyota. They are probably more disorganized than your church. If you've ever been in a meeting where you have the choir director and the pastor and the youth pastor trying to figure out what service should look like, imagine having the accounting, the manufacturing, procurement department at a company trying to figure things out. They all have these different ideas. They go different places. So my job working for SAP, not an evil German company trying to take over the world, is to help them figure out and eventually, in my thing, buy something. But really, it's not about buying, because in this age now, just from the days of people being able to sell stuff and then run away disappeared. So actually we have to get them, buy something that they actually use and actually solves a problem so they come back and buy more. So that's what my job is to do. So while I was doing all this, and I'll introduce Travis in a second because he's very important to the story, I realized that I could use my skills for good and not evil. So. And by the way, SAP they're a German company, and they really have this, we don't want people to think we're an evil company, so they overcompensate by having us do lots of good stuff. So my boss is very excited that I'm doing stuff, out helping people and stuff. So if those who know SAP, it runs the world. Everything, every back-end system in the world is SAP. So from a church standpoint, I talk a lot. So I tend to get, pastors tend to find me and say, you should be in charge of this. So I've been an elder. A lot of churches I've been at, there's an elder in charge of something. I tended to be social ministries, outreach. And then one of them, I'm superintendent of Sunday schools, because a pastor said, hey, we're thinking about the superintendent of Sunday school, so if you know anybody, let us know. And so I went up and said, hey, what does this job entail? He told me about it, and the next Sunday he said, I'd like to announce our new superintendent of Sunday schools. So I did that, but the most important, I've taught middle school Sunday school and survived. Anybody who's had a middle schooler? Yes. So that's really the key one. The current church I'm at is the Grove Lutheran. We'll talk about, that's where we did the case study on this. I'll talk about that. I put utility player because really My job there was, if you know anything about baseball, that's a baseball term. Utility player is the guy they hire that they have him do all the jobs until they find the right person for that job. So it's like, hey, we just traded away our outfielder got hurt. You play outfield until we find a real outfielder. That's really what I did for the Grove. Is when we needed something, I would kind of do that job until I could find somebody, or they could find somebody who actually knew what they were doing. So that's kind of where that came from. So, but before we get into the story of the Grove, we need to know where the Grove came from. That's why Travis is there. This is Travis.
And also here.
Yes.
So I'm a church planter, and my journey to get to church planting was a long one that I won't bore you with. But the thing that we were trying to do is develop an apostolic church planting approach, which is similar to what Paul was actually doing in the New Testament, where you have an activator go into a community, gather together a bunch of strangers, develop deep community, set good theology, and then help them turn their hearts towards their neighbors. And then as that would happen and we would start to hit some matrix, I would decrease and we would bring in a Timothy pastor or an Apollos pastor who is a little bit more gifted in structure, a little bit more gifted in systems, and be able to take a church from 100 to 120 to a sustainable 250 in worship. In fact, the pastor that we found to do that at the Grove Church, his wife is right there, Aletha. And so if you have any questions on that, because they left a really warm, comfortable, amazingly successful church to strike out on the adventure of a lifetime. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Yeah. And so as a church plant, you're forced, as all of our ministries are being forced into this reality of we need to connect with our neighbors. We need to connect with those that are around us, whether it be our neighborhoods, in our office cubicles, or in our schools. We've got to connect with them. And we have very limited resources, and we have very limited time in how to do that. And so as we were trying to figure out how to do this, Robert, and the way that I met Robert, he came up to me one Sunday after church, and I was preaching and kind of casting vision to one of our churches, and he comes up and goes, hey, I used to work in politics, and like red flags were going off. I know how this is going to go. There's an agenda, and I need to get on board with it.
Yeah.
Anyways, and he talked about, in politics, they talk about you need door openers, doers, and donors for any political campaign to succeed. And immediately he goes, I think that's important for churches too. And my mind is like, just racing. I'm like, oh my gosh, that answers so many questions. And this little month later, I go back and he comes over with his wife and goes, we both hate you because since you were here last time, we never stopped talking about church planting. And we feel like we're called to help you on this journey. As we would do lunches and whatnot, he would introduce me to this design thinking process. And so what we did one Sunday, is this where you want me to go?
Yep. Well, you can, we did it somewhere. Don't tell them because I'm going to show that in a second. So.
Okay. And help this very eclectic group of people that were coming from 3 different churches, and they were very different incarnations of our Lutheran worship. One was a $350,000 pipe organ and some of the best, most classical Lutheran liturgy you could possibly do. Then one was this hybrid kind of church that was only 15 years old. It was a church plant, and it had this great contemporary band, and then you had this kind of blended. And all these people from different stories would gather together, and he, through this process, really helped us define within one Sunday the target audience that we felt God was uniquely calling the Grove Church to do. And from there, we started to run, doors started opening, and now we meet at a bar.
Spoiler alert.
Not a bar.
Yeah.
And so it's been a very helpful process, and that's what I wanted to encourage you guys, because I know resources are limited, but if you do the right tool at the right time, it can really ignite the spirit to make some... If you do the right tool at the right time, it can really ignite the spirit within your community to gain momentum and excitement towards a mission that maybe has been lacking for some of our congregations because we've been adrift and kind of stuck in a routine that maybe has not given the sense of adventure that following Jesus typically is. Is that fair to say? One of the tools that we developed along this journey is what we call the 1002 Project. And you can find out more information out there at Go Green Bay. And it's basically the simple thing. Luke 10:2 says this, therefore pray to the Lord of the harvest to send out workers to the harvest because the harvest is ready. And so what we'll do is we'll go to a congregation and we'll say, hey, for the next month, everyone commit to set their phone alarm to go off at 10:02 in the morning. Doesn't matter where you're at. And at that moment, just pray for the harvest. It doesn't need to be a long prayer. It doesn't need to be an outdoor prayer. Just pray for the harvest. Turn off your alarm. Someone might ask you, someone may not. But what we find over that month is people's hearts start to turn towards wherever they're at, and that becomes their harvest field. And so we have some resources. We have a devotion booklet, and we have things like that. But this has been a really good tool, again, to help focus our people that are scattered everywhere with vision going every direction into the very thing that God encouraged us to do in Luke 2, 10:2. Pray to the Lord to harvest. So, thank you, Robert.
Yes, and so, by the way, I don't know if anything got picked up on the recording. This is the recording. So it was Travis Hargen talking about Groundbreakers to Harvesters and the 1002 Project. Suggest you go to groundbreakerslife.com/TEN02 and you can find more information. So the reason I wanted to bring that up, besides it's very important, people are always asking what you can do for church plants. This is very important. Also from a design thinking standpoint, starting this and having the congregation do this gets people in that mindset, and design thinking is a lot about getting people to start thinking differently. So normally when I do these things, one of the things we did was we'll Play-Doh, we'll play games, get people to do creative stuff, just to stop thinking about what they're thinking about. And so the same thing, if you at 10:02 you're praying, it just puts you in a different mindset and gets you ready for things. So he did spoil some of my stuff. So the Grove, this is the church. This is from our very official looking annual report. So and this is, I like the mission statement. So this came out of all the stuff. So this is kind of the end process of some of that. The Grove is a family that exists to meet people where they are. The where they are is very important, and that really came out of these design thinking sessions, and help them come alive in Christ. So, and then we have what we stand on, our PEG, our peg legs. So, which is praise, equip, go. So every time we have anything, that's, if you think about your service, you have the liturgy, confession, this is our, everything we do. There's a praise element, we equip them, and then we go. And it just, again, helps focus. We also have another saying, which I didn't have in there, which is PB&J, good stuff, which is pray now, wear out your Bibles, obviously focusing on Jesus, turning to Jesus, and then we're like, what are we going to do with the ampersand? And we realized an ampersand is always connecting two things, so we want to focus on connecting. So when people say, what should you be doing? PB&J. So, again, why? Because if we said, our church is about spreading Jesus, and do you know Jesus? It was like, okay, I've been hearing that for 100 years. Thank you very much. If I say, stand on our peg leg and PB&J, it just makes people think different. And remember, I bet all of you a week from now will not remember anything I said, but the PB&J will probably stick, because you say there was that weird guy in the Hawaiian shirt who says PB&J. By the way, Hawaiian shirt that I wear, I always wear liturgically correct colors Hawaiian shirt. So, colors of rainbow. We get to paint this classroom any color we want. We can pick from the colors of rainbow. What colors can we choose from? Anyone? Right, red, orange, green, right, exactly, right? We got 7 colors to choose from. Why? Because that's what we were taught over and over. What are the colors of rainbow? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. I said we could paint this room any color in the rainbow. Is that 7? No. That is what design thinking is all about, is getting people from answering questions with the answer they think the person wants to answer. So, and that's really, I do that. I'll do some other examples. So actually, I'll remember. I'll go to my order things. So what is design thinking? So most people know what design is. That's creating something. There's a style. There's a function. So if I said, we need to design a new cell phone, it needs to be able to go up to my ear. It needs to be able to be loud enough. It needs to fit in my hand. That's design. Design thinking is not that. Design should come out of design thinking. So it's problem solving and problem finding. By the way, for those who didn't hear, my email's on here. I'll find a way. I don't know if they post the slides somewhere, but we'll get these slides to you. So, but feel free to take pictures also. I also should do my disclaimer. A lot of these slides are slides that SAP created that I think I have permission to use. And then I pulled from some other people. There's IDEO and some other design thinking folks that I pulled from. So, but from a design thinking standpoint, how many people here have a cell phone? Right? How many people use their phone function of the cell phone as the main thing they use their phone for? Really? Main thing. You spend more minutes talking on your phone than anything else. Right. That's because of design thinking. If you remember, for those who are old enough, phones, they got the big thing was to get them smaller, but it was buttons and an earpiece. And somebody said, that's not the problem. That's not what we're doing. That's design, making the coolest looking phone, getting from the Zach Morris, I don't see how old I am, the Zach Morris brick phone down to the little flip phone. And now we have these which are very little. There's a comedian who talks about it. I have a phone and it's an app, and I'm very upset when people use that app on me. It's like, text me first and see if I want to talk to you. But anyway, so that's design thinking. I will go into a lot more detail. But really it's innovation, and this is the important thing, that comes from people, and the people are very important. The approach, which we'll talk about, and there's lots of methods. I'll use the term method. Methods are just little things. There's not a design thinking method. There's a whole book of methods. People are coming out with new methods all the time. You've picked the methods that meet the people. The other thing is the space. This is really, really, really important. I can't remember that picture in here, but the space is very important. This right here is a horrible space to do design thinking. It's a classroom. You're in a classroom. Everybody, you get in here, and there's some of you that I got to sit in my chair, got to sit up. So the space is very important. Oops, went the wrong way. So again, design thinking, people, a very important space, the approach, and out of that comes innovation. And you don't have to force innovation, innovation comes. It is surprising how well that comes. You don't go in there and say, all right, the purpose of this is to have this outcome. When you do a design thinking session, you do not have a defined outcome. At the end of the session, you want to have something. What that something is will probably be not what anybody thought. If you already know the outcome you want, just do it. So just do it and tell everybody what you want. As I used to say when people come up here, and so I do analytics reporting. Most reporting is, I have a piece of paper up here so I can tell you what I want you to think, and you can agree with me. That's propaganda. That's not innovation. So you should always, everything you do should be a question. And when you're done, you should have more questions than you had at the very beginning. That's how you know you've done a good session. So, again, this is about half a day of design thinking. We're going to do it in about 2 minutes. There's two parts of it. Most people, again, you don't want to go in with trying to solve a problem, a specific problem. You want to have an idea, and we'll talk about that, of what you're trying to figure out. But you want to start there with, this is what we're doing. So we have a church. We need to figure out, we had what are we doing? Who are we going after? Where are we going? We're not sure. Let's figure out all the questions we had. And we designed, and we drilled back in and said, okay, this is what we're going to focus on for the rest of the day. So you want to get as many ideas out there as possible. Do some things to focus them back down. And then once you have your problem defined, a problem question, then you want to start working on the solution. The same thing. Get as many ideas as you can, and then focus them back down. And there's some tricks and tools I'll talk about. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do some of them. That's really, you want as many problems defined as possible. That's the design of design thinking, is to get out there and get as many problems as possible. So, because if you think about, again, great football teams, you design the play, this is what's going to happen, we assume this is what the other team's going to happen, and they don't do that, you better have had 20 different, okay, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. If this happens, this is what we're going to do. So, if they don't cover this guy, we're going to be able to score a touchdown and win. They're going to call holding them because we paid the refs. So, All right. So design thinking again. What are the most important features on a car? We're a car company. This is the answers. I actually did a demo yesterday for a car company. What are the most important features on a car? Anyway, this is our session. What's the most important features on a car?
It runs efficiently.
Runs efficiently. Brakes. Wheels.
CarPlay.
CarPlay. All right. Those are all great. What's the one problem? What's the best features on a car for a couple? See my little, by the way, this is a chance to show off this is my birthday present for my wife. So for a couple, what's the most important features? Say a young couple. So efficiently, space, right? Safety. Cool. There we go. Cool, like this one. Right. Great car for a couple, right? We just defined that, yeah. With 2 kids. Right. Like space. The opposite of that. There's a great song called What Will We Do with the Baby-O? It's about a guy who has a Corvette, gets married, and he's all excited about his Corvette, and then his wife says, what are we going to do with the Baby-O? So, one who plays hockey. Right. And the other one's in a wheelchair. So this is why, So design, you need to get down to what question are we trying to answer. What's the best feature on a car? It doesn't matter until you know what you're trying to do. And if I made a car that was great for a couple, a young couple, and a car that was great for a couple with 2 kids, and a car that's great for one who plays hockey, I would have the worst looking car. They're called crossover SUVs. So, but if you think about it, I mean, and to joke about anything, and I'll pick a one. Blended service, as they say, it's a service that everybody hates, right? So the contemporary people hate it. It's the same thing. So if you got to focus, and there's a reason for it, and if you do it correctly, it's right. But if you try and this is a compromise that'll make everybody happy, it doesn't. So, so another answer. So we want to get around to the hospital. We need to get to the labs. What's the best way to do it? We ask the adults. What's the way to get a kid from a hospital room to the labs? They can walk there, wheelchairs. Going to bed, right? We asked the kids. You know what their answers were? We want to get there in a race car. We get there in a Barbie car. Those are insane, goofy answers, right? Right? That's what hospitals are doing now. If you were a kid going for labs, which do you think has better outcomes? This or this? So obviously we can't let a kid drive a race car, but they said race car. They actually said dinosaurs. They actually had something that looked like dinosaurs. So that's when I talk about going wide, and this is all about being crazy. There is no such thing as a crazy idea. Eventually, it would be implementing a crazy idea, you need to get it back to the not the crazy. But hey, the most important feature I want on a phone is I want to be able to watch cat videos. That's a crazy idea. Now, how many people here have seen a cat video on a phone? Right. There we go. So the Grove. As again, pastor comes in there. I was fat, dumb, and happy. I was ready to retire in the church. By retire, I mean I was going to show up on Sundays, put my money in, be happy. I'd done my tour of duty doing middle school, and I was really ready to retire. He comes in there, starts talking. So we started house meetings, meeting in houses. We started growing. We, of course, said, hey, the most important place to meet, of course, is an RV, boat, and storage, because that's what comes to mind where churches meet. That came because it was just available. We met there doing dinner and praise, and it continued to grow. And so we got big. We're like, we can't keep meeting there. We can't keep meeting on Saturday. We need to do something. What are we going to do next? So the big question we had, which was, where are we going to meet, right? Where are we going to meet? And that's when Travis and we said, we need to say who first. Where is not that important if you don't know who. And that's when we started design thinking. So again, it's getting out of what is the real question we're trying to answer. Where is a problem? That's not really the problem. The problem is, how can we get people to come to church? And then who do we want to come to church? So what do we do? So this is one of the methods we're going to go talk about in design thinking. And this, I think, is the most important part of design thinking, to get things so you can control them. It's a thing called personas. And you'll see this, and a lot of people in marketing will talk about personas they're selling to. Be careful of that, what they're doing with those personas, because they tend to be caricatures. So what it is a framework for defining empathy. And that's the goal, is it's not to just as a person. We want to know what they do, what they say, most importantly, what they think and what they feel. And I'll unpack this, so we'll spend a little bit of time on these. So why personas? So again, I've worked for this large corporation, and all these things come from these think tanks, these universities, these brilliant ideas they've come up in the 20th century, which is we need to, before we can go out and sell to people, we need to understand those people, and then we need to be like those people. And I was sitting there, I was going, be like the people I want to talk to. That sounds familiar. I think I've heard that somewhere. Corinthians. I was a Jew with the Jews. I was a slave for the slaves. I was a Roman when I was a Roman. That's how you find a common ground with everybody and everything, so I can save some. This is not rocket science, but finding a common ground. Doesn't mean he didn't say, hey, I'm going to go sell myself into slavery for 5 years. But he understood what was important to them. Look at Jesus' sermons. When he was talking to the Pharisees and those, he was talking, he was Old Testament, up, down, the other. When he's talking to regular people, hey, you guys are all farmers. So let me tell you this parable about a farm. Hey, you guys are all merchants. Let me tell you about what it is for saving money. Understanding what connects people and how they think. So again, this isn't, if you're saying, wow, this is cool, amazing stuff, it's not. It's just going back. It's really amazing how much of the stuff is already in the Bible. So, actually not amazing. Yes?
So I'm listening to you, and you don't mean you're just looking for one target market.
No. No, so yes and no. So again, like with a car, you need to understand who your target markets are and who you're going to. A church cannot be all things to all people. We want to be a church that attracts young people who like rock and roll, and we want to have 80-year-olds who like contemporary service. So we're going to find an answer that solves both of those. No, but you need to understand that both those people exist, and what are their needs, and how can we do something that's going to work for everybody. So. And then you also have different messages. So again, using advertising, the ads you see on TikTok are very different than the ads you'll see on Facebook, are very different than the ads you'll see on the nightly news. And it's tailoring message so that they understand what you're saying. But we'll go into a little more detail of what we did. So, but yes, it's not, I'm going to pick one person, we're going to tailor it towards them, but I need to understand so that if I do a message, that I know it's going to go out to all those people, and I'm not completely turning off a group. So. But again, you don't want to micro-target. Talking about campaigns, the same thing. It's micro-targeting was the thing. If you understand everybody, then you can find out what everybody cares about, and you can make sure that who you're going to offend or know you're going to offend. Hey, we're going to do this. We have a church where they have a pipe organ. We're not going to have a pipe organ. We can't have a pipe organ. We got to understand that, and how are we going to bridge that area. So, but to do that, we have to know those people. So you're going to create a persona. Again, this is a half-day class on how to do personas. I'm going to do it in about 5 minutes here. A persona is a fictional character. Very important about this, and there's some rules when you do personas. You don't want to use a name of anybody you know, anybody in the person. Don't use fake names. So this shouldn't be Taylor Swift or. But if you look around, this teacher loves Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift or somebody, it's a fictional character. But they're useful, again, for putting stuff up against. So they're going to be a real person, and I'll tell you some what came out of this. And again, it's a human face on an otherwise. So, all right, churches, we want to outreach to, how many people have at a church? We want to outreach to millennials, right? Yeah. Somebody said that. Millennials? Do you know how large a group that is? Do you know how the same they are? So I want to talk to preschool kids. Go to a preschool class and try and find 3 kids in there who are the same. So it's really to understand those. And then you actually will create this name. You can draw a picture. In design thinking, you do lots of sketching. Again, their needs and tasks and their goals and aspirations. So in order to do this, and we're going to do one of these sessions a little bit later, you need to get out of your wherever. Nothing worse. I, again, love churches, lots of churches. Hey, let's go meet in the meeting room, and let's have a creativity session in the most non-creative place you can think of. Again, no offenses to schools. School classrooms are not, with kids, they're a little better now. With most of us, you go into a school classroom and you think, I'm going to wait here. Somebody's going to stand at the front of the room and talk to me. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to maybe take notes. Probably not. So get out somewhere. We found this was the little community center. Somewhere around a church somewhere, there's some little master plan community somewhere that has this little space you can rent, or back of a restaurant. It needs to be a place where everybody you can be your space. You want lots of walls, because the most important tool for design thinking, Post-it notes and Post-it note folders. And I actually, Tori, we get a chance. Can you open this up for me? Woo! The reason you want to use Post-it notes, if I give everybody a piece of paper, a large notebook paper, again, it's school. I'm going to write my name on the top. I'm going to write a little list here. So you want to get out things. For this, because I was too cheap, we have pens. Normally, you want to use markers. Go get a dry erase markers because they're cheap and they're colorful, and people are more creative when they can write in color. So it's little things like that. So those tools, again, if you'll notice, there's lots of just junk and little things to play on there. And then timers. So we're going to do some stuff here where we need a 3-minute timer. All right. So I can put up, you can go buy a little timer. It says 3, 2:59, 2:58. Does anybody know the best timers that aren't a clock? Anybody know something that's 3 minutes long? A song. Most songs are between 2:59 and 3:25. They want to get played on the radio. Songs. It's an easiest thing. A side note, I was listening to a thing where they were looking up some old recipes, and they were saying all these goofy people because it said to take this medicine and then sing Ave Maria 3 times and then do this other medicine, and they're like, oh, that's so superstitious. And then somebody said, how many people had stopwatches in the Middle Ages? How many people knew how Ave Maria and knew how long it took? Ave Maria was a nice 20-minute timer. So it's an easy way to do a 3-minute timer and to keep everybody from looking up. Because in a song, you can kind of you always know when they're getting ready. Here's the bridge. Okay, here's the ending. So it's a quick, easy way, and it's a fun way. And it also, from a science standpoint, listen to music. It's firing off one side of your brain. You're trying to think. It's firing off the other side of the brain. Both sides of your brains are going woohoo, and you'll get some crazy ideas. So anyway, just a little bit of thing. It makes a huge difference and makes people think, this is different. I'm going to do something different. As opposed to, I'm going to sit in the classroom, all right, everybody, you have 3 minutes, go. And it's like, ah! But it's like, here, I'm going to start a song. We're going to finish up when the song's over. So what do we do? Brainstorming. Again, we're going to talk about this later because we're going to do it again. But in brainstorming, this is the big thing. Lots of goofy ideas. Fail early and often. And what that means is you want an idea in everybody and find a way to say, okay, let's do that. We'll try that later. Let's think about if that's going to work. It's not going to work. But how do you know if it's a failure? You have to know, does it fit a person? Hey, we want to build a 2-seat convertible. This is for a family with a wheelchair. Nope. But that's a quick, let's think about that and do that. Quantity. More ideas you get, again, more crazy ideas you get, you'd be surprised how well that narrows it down. And then think user-centric is, again, always, it's not about what we're trying to solve, it's about who we're trying to solve for. Again, I can have the prettiest church with the coolest pipe organ, or I can have the coolest church with the awesome stage and lights. If there's nobody there, it doesn't matter. It's all about the people. And again, go for wild ideas. We'll talk about these, focus on topic. This is the important one from a facilitator standpoint. For design thinking, you think, I want a really creative person. Do not have a creative person run your design thinking. Travis, love Travis. Incredible speaker, incredible guider. We would still be talking about this arrow and how cool this arrow was for about 30 minutes, because that's what creative people do. They go off on a tangent. It's awesome. You want people there. You want them as part of the team. You don't want them. The other thing you do is you want introverts in your group. Introverts probably have some of the greatest ideas. They've had them for 40 years and have never spoken up because they hate speaking in groups. And we get some of the best ideas from our introverts. So what do? We start off saying, okay, we got together, what are we going to do for this? And I was like, all right, let's, what are we trying to figure out for the church? Let's figure out who we're going to focus on. So we did a little brainstorming session, came up with, these are people we're going to focus on. This took about 2 minutes to come up with this list of people, which was, and I'll show you how we came up with a lot of these answers. But this is, they're all over the place, which is a tattoos person. Empty, young, so they're not like, again, it wasn't RGB, it was people all over the place. And then we took this as a group, did some little sessions to narrow it down to 4 different groups, because we had 4 tables, so I divided up into 4 groups, and then they did a session on that. And they built a persona. And I think these are the personas we came up with. So the amazing thing so this is one, they named him Tanner, 35 years old. He's stressed, worries about money, skeptical about bigger things, adventurer, worried about the problems of the world, passionate about helping young people. That's his heart. We started with educated, in-depth, skeptical of church, loves craft beer, full-time job, toys are his thing, all this stuff. Because once you start doing this, you're like, yeah, I know that person. So now when we have something, it's not, well, we want to reach, young adult males. No, we want to reach Tanner. We know about Tanner. And then you can think, so where do you meet Tanner? Tanner likes to hang out at craft beer houses, Great Fest, a little bit there, farmers markets. It's a person. It makes it so much easier, as opposed to we're going to reach out to millennials, we're going to reach out to young adults, we're going to reach out to older people. We want to reach out to Tanner. It makes conversations easier. Then we identified another one, Carrie. Again, they started with mid-20s to early 40s. That's not good. Anybody here is 20 years old? Anybody is 40 years old? Is that the same thing? No. 38, 2 kids, girl in middle school. I mean, you refined it down. That was we went wide, refined it down. So Carrie, they did all the stuff, the same thing about who is Carrie, what about Carrie. Now we knew Carrie. The amazing thing is we have these groups do this on their own, and then we said, okay, well, you introduce us to Carrie. When they started introducing Carrie, people were crying because it was a real person. Because Carrie, the backstory in Carrie is she's the mom who they had the divorce, and the dad got the church in the divorce. And everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. So the dad got the school and the church. So how do we attach that? Yes?
Did you purposely have a profile persona for both genders?
No.
Is that important?
No.
Okay.
So if I have an inner city campus and my community, I want to start a church ministry at an all-boys school. So it literally none of this was planned. This was who we want to reach.
And those
Yes, and this was I don't even think this is a female. This is somebody a parent of a divorce.
But these are two examples that came from the same session.
Yes, from the same.
People were introducing. I got you.
Right. So there were 4 tables who came up with 4 people. There was 2 other ones.
And I think the target location determines a lot of this, right? So where we were planting was highly educated, very affluent, and primarily Caucasian.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of flight towards this brand new burgeoning community, and so that was we knew those people moving in. So then we had to put a name and kind of put some of their story behind to understand them, and they were like, oh, of course we need to go this direction.
And the other thing is, so the groups around it, a lot of this is people they know. So again, this shouldn't be Beth from Uganda who lives in a village there, because unless we had a bunch of people who've been in Uganda, because you don't know it. And that's how you can tell when they start getting really, really deep. And you say, where would you meet that person? If you can't answer this question, probably not a good persona. Set it aside and pick a different one, because it needs to be people that you don't have to know them, but you understand them or think you understand them. But the great thing is, if you get this and say, this is who we want to meet, and we don't understand it, that is as important as having a perfect persona. We're trying to reach, a young female who's divorced. Does anybody know anything about that? And look at Travis, myself. It's like, nope. We need to find some people who understand that. So that's why personas are so important, because it helps you identify what you know and what you don't know.
So are these
Yeah.
I'm struggling a little bit, and I have a design background, so
Yeah.
this is familiar, but not in the church level. Are these personas people that are in this place, that they think are in this place, or they're just...
Nope. This is from a. If this was a business, this is who we want to sell to, at the church. This is who we want coming to our church, or this is who we want to hear about our church. Because one of the ones I didn't put up there was, what was her name? Taylor, the one with the tattoos.
Oh, yes.
I can't remember her name. Anyway, hates institutions, doesn't trust people, has a tattoo for every person who's hurt her. Realize she's not going to come to our church for a long time, but we have her in there. So she's our target audience, but she's not. As we finished it, we said, yeah, she ain't coming to our church for a while, but she is definitely somebody we want to touch with our church. And that was one of those moments,
Okay, so we are part of a multi-site
Yep.
church, and we're going to be planting ourselves just for the health of it.
Yep.
So we already have like 240 people, but we have a lot of vision, all these stuff to ask. So these personas, should they be not who we currently are made of, but who we are
Right.
reaching out to?
Yes.
Some mission?
Yeah, again, think of it from a retail standpoint. This is our customer, and like I said, I hate doing the church because they're not customers, but
So don't worry about the people in the room. Worry about the people outside.
right. Yes, it is very, and that's our church. If we did it, this would say, older married couple who's been in a Lutheran church for 100 years, but has been there long enough to say, I don't need, people, but love doing weird things.
So to help you with the not customer thing, you can go back to the harvest.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be working the harvest, and some are,
Yeah.
This
Oh wow.
is how you keep them around, Robert.
Yes. So yeah, who are we? Who's in the field? Who's been planted for us to harvest? Wow. All right.
She's good.
No. We gotta put that one.
And she works for free.
Right. Yes. Yes. Everybody knows that's what pastors' wives are for, to do all the jobs you don't want to pay for. She teaches. Do you play the piano and teach? Yeah. So, by the way, it looks really, really professional. So,
So we are planting a church that's already been planted.
Yep.
Because it was an LCMC church, now it's moved to LCMS church, but it's not grown in 10 years.
Yep.
So my question is, most of the members of this church live 20 miles away in other communities.
yeah.
So it's going to be hard for them to develop a persona of what, or not.
So I was. How many people here have been in a church, more than one church? More than 2 churches? More than 3 churches? All right. Were all 3 of those churches the exact same? No. You'd be surprised how much knowledge you have. How many people here flew here? Right. How many people on the plane looked exactly like you? How many sat in the airport and watched people? You'd be surprised how much you know about the area. The one thing I will say, and this is a slight plug for the extension funds, they have great demographics. So after you do these personas, okay, this is who we want to go after. Look at our neighborhood. It is made up of college students who are all, college student females. That's not Connie. We need to reevaluate who we're going after, or look at our area and see if that's who we want to. But again, I would go out this first. This is who we want to go, and then you can use that to decide, is what we're going after correct? This is who we think we're trying to reach. They don't live near us. We're not going to reach them. That's why personas are so important. Again, because people say, we want to reach out to the unchurched. Great. That's really defined. That's the point of personas, is it makes it so much easier to answer questions, which is what we were getting to, which I think, it allows you to create these point of view statements, which is, for instance, we have Connie is an overworked, stressed young man who needs a way to connect, but surprisingly thinks everybody hates her from the divorce. And we use that and say, so how do we reach out to Connie? So you can, and again, it's just a way to, it's a good way to test your personas. If you can't fill out these sentences, then it means that you probably don't have a real persona. You have a caricature, or you have a marketing statement. This should be a person. And when you say these things, like I said, anytime I talk about Connie, it's because I've seen that person in a movie. I've met that person. I've been that person. If there's not an emotional response, it's not a persona. It's a caricature. So.
Can you give that statement one more time as an example?
No, probably I made up on the lie. Connie is a stressed mother who needs a way to connect, but surprisingly thinks everybody hates her. Which goes back to, because of the divorce. Why does everybody think she hates her? Because the church turned their back on her. So we need to understand that her view of the church is it turned their back on her. So how can we reach her? Well, that's why that statement's important, because you start doing it. She's stressed. Why is she stressed? Because she has to try and prepare dinner for her 2 kids and get them to class. So what's that mean for education? What's that mean for her kids' involvement? There's so many. You start saying these statements and people start going, oh, I know what we could do for her. I know what we should do. And the ideas start pouring because you have something to focus on, as opposed to, all right, we need to get together, have a session, figure out how we can do outreach to the community. Anybody got any ideas? Fish fry. Spaghetti supper. You think Connie wants to come to a spaghetti supper? Right. So she can be around a bunch of people and sit by herself and have her 2 kids who are probably going to be misbehaving, because when they're at dad's, they get to do everything they want. Where their mom's the mean one. Yeah. So how do you think she feels about those family-friendly events? It's like I said, it's just amazing what the stuff comes out. Now again, we have another one. It's a young couple. Their kids are their life. Spaghetti supper with their kids. Man, they're like, I can go show off my kids. I can show how well behaved they are. That's my thing. So again, it just makes answering questions. So he gave a spoiler. As a church, we need to find a new place to stay. So if you ever in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Bartonville, Barney B's, awesome. It's a restaurant, and then up here is kind of it's a bar event center, but main thing is a bar, and then a big area. And we're like, Marty, and it's a long story, Marty saw us meeting there. It's like, what are you guys doing while we're planting this church, trying to find a place to go? Hey, I've always thought it'd be great to have a church here. What? You can't see it right here. He has a stage. One of the bands came in and said, hey, could you build us a cross for our concert? So as we're doing this, saying, hey, should this be a place where we go? We see this big cross. So anyway, so Marty B's, we're going, all right, that's a place to go. Is that the place we should go? So if you'll notice here, Marty B's wants us to be on the second floor. All right? It's got stairs to the second floor. If our personas was 80-year-olds, which if you looked at who was our core families, we had a lot of old families. Marty B's, if we asked the church, hey, is Marty B's a good place for us to set up church? The answer would be, for us, no. But we'd already, because of that session, it was, is Marty B a good place for Connie? Is Marty B a good place for Trevor? Absolutely. You think somebody who's been burned by institution, say, hey, we meet at a bar. You think, Trevor, I'm too cool for school? Hey, you want to come hang out at Marty B's afterwards? We can come down here, have a beer. It was one of those things. It was. Can we do this? Should we do this? What's the synod going to say when we tell where we're meeting? I mean, again, the people who found this are, these are good Lutherans who've been going. I wear liturgically correct Hawaiian shirts. So it's like, oh, he's crazy. No, I look on the calendar to make sure I'm wearing the right color. So. But it made it so easy to answer those questions because it's what's the problem we're trying to solve. So, also coming out of that were all kinds of other things. Oh, I went too far. There we go. We had all these youth. How can we get youth involved? And it was insanely obvious from that. Again, we had one of the youth that didn't come out there, technology savvy, digital natives. So you know who our tech team is? That's our tech team. That's who runs all the tech for our church. It's like, why would you have a bunch of old people? Our cameras are iPhones. This is an Apple. This is sound. Why would you have a bunch of old people try and use technology? We got a bunch of people, and I was the cool guy. I'm the technology guy, so I was running all the cameras. I couldn't get something done on the stupid phone. I can't remember. Yeah, it was locked or whatever. I was struggling with it, and I think Molly came up and said, "Oh yeah." And I was like, that's when it's like. So, the other thing, I don't know if you can see it down here. You can see this little couch areas here in our little prison there. Wanted to have families with kids. Always a struggle. What are you going to do with families with kids? We had Connie there. Do you think Connie wants to drop off her kids at the nursery? No. Do you think Connie is worried about my kids are going to make a loud noise? Do you think Connie's comfortable sitting on a couch with her kid there? Not in a chair. Not, please don't bother the other people. Now that came because we're brilliant and thought of that. No, that became because we're meeting upstairs in a bar and they had couches. And the people with kids immediately went to the couches. Yep. And then the ones with the younger said, hey, can you do something so they don't run away? So we put up the kiddie prison. But, by the way, the kiddie prison term came from a DCE, so I will. Because not all DCEs want to be youth pastors. But anyway, but it was one of those, does this work for Connie? Yes. When we saw those, normally your normal things when you see a space, in our first inclination we saw the space, what do you want to do with church space? Move all the tables to the edges and line up the chairs like this. This is the great thing about being a church plant. We were too small to have enough people to move the tables, so we left them where they are. It was the most brilliant thing ever. People sit at tables, talk at tables. When you're sitting at like here, everybody came in here, sat in their chair. Did anybody talk to anybody else next to them? All right, when you go down there and you sit at a table and you're staring across to somebody, do you talk to them? It's just natural stuff. So this is what's right next to the altar. Again, not picking on. Do you think this is your normal churchgoer who would be very happy in a church with a pipe organ? We don't know. We're making assumptions there. But do you think they're very happy talking to other men in front of a bar and talking about life in front of a bar? As opposed to, let's sit in the narthex and talk in the family life center. Let's go gather in the family life center and have time together as men. Yeah, it's one of those, if you think of it, is this okay? And then other little things. So that's my lovely bride. That is not my daughter. So, and people know that's not the daughter, their name tag. So it's like, okay, because most, again, not picking on church, most churches, the greeters are two old people or a family. How come we think Connie is seeing a perfect, here's my mom, dad, and their 2.5 kids. So it's, hey, here's this so that she can talk to the kids. Here's I can say, not older at all, not slightly older, very young. For those who are listening to the recording, but somebody who's been there, and so that they can have talks, and so, sees the kids running around and understands what Connie's going through and can go over there and say, hey, you want me to take, let me watch while you go get your coffee? Because they know that. That's intentional understanding who we're going to. So, like I said, it's a little bitty things. So we did all that. The problem was it worked. So we're in this great space, and it's too small. We are bursting at the seams. So now it's, again, where? And we decided to say not where, but why. And so we do a church building. I said, okay, what are the most important features of a new church building? And we came up with, and I'm going to pick on some, we did some sessions on this, and we're going to actually get to do what we did for this part of it in just a minute here. We had one group, great idea. We want gray brick, not brown brick. We want lots of glass. We need to cross somewhere, but not too obvious. It needs to be, we need to have men's and women's bathrooms. All those are very important things. Do you know who is really good at coming up with those things? Designers, architects. A design thinking session we came up. We want a fully stocked pond with fish, so we can go fishing. Put a fishing boat in there. We want a place for my mom to come, be able to take their kids and do tutoring and homework. We want a place where we can teach classes. All those are design thinking elements. If you take those to an architect and say, this is what we want to do with our building, your architect's going to go, oh, thank you. Not another church group who wants to tell me how to architect. And I got to meet the first architect we met with. Great guy, great church architect. Was horrible because it was, okay, which of the 17 church designs that I've done before do you guys like? And then get in a room of 10 volunteers to all try and agree on something. It was a disaster. And the other guys were just like, tell us what you're thinking and design the church. And then, of course, because we're the Grove and never doing it, we had land and we did lots of land. But we said, hey, we got a building. We'll figure it out everywhere. But we're going to start a building campaign without a building because that's what you do when you're a church plant. You just go, why not? Why would you stop doing church design? Because we need to know what we're doing as opposed to, here's the land, let's put a building on it. So one of the things we did, and this is the little thing, this is one of the methods, I think this is probably one of the most easiest methods to use. And will get you so many ideas very quickly. It's called brain writing. So what it's designed to do is generate a bunch of ideas in a short period of time. So say, for instance, you have a session and you've talked way longer than you thought you were, and you only have a few minutes. So this is cueing for Tori. You want to start handing things out? No, not the little ones. Get everybody to contribute, including introverts. So again, when I ask a question here, what design the cards, I got 3 people to answer. Once those people answered, everybody else I don't have to answer. And the other people please don't make him do this people. I'm going to call on people. And you see people go, oh, please don't call me. But you'd be surprised. There's a person who has been in a church for 25 years and has never in their life given any suggestions. Not because they don't have suggestions, it's just that's not what they do, and they're afraid if they say the suggestion. If they say they want a fully stocked fish pond, the people will say that's crazy. I will say, you know what fully stocked fish pond became? We have a water feature that people can sit by. Who wouldn't want a church that has a water feature? Which came out of somebody saying a fully stocked fish pond, which is a great idea. Anyway, so how do we do this? He says trying to keep a little... Technology is our friend. Oh, why brain writing? Again, because I don't want you to tell me red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And why do we do that? And I always do this, again, biblical thing. I have a boat filled with fishermen. They know more about fishing than anybody else. And what did Jesus say? No, it's the middle of the afternoon. You need to throw on the other side of the boat. That's a stupid idea. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Everybody knows, yeah, right, there's going to be fish on the other side of the boat. Thanks, again, we're not all Jesus in the miracle side, but that's really the start of thinking, which is, hey, if somebody has an idea that sounds stupid, try it. Because you know who may have told them that idea? What is the church that we say guides us all the time? Holy Spirit, right. And it's like, I had this crazy idea. No, you really didn't. Somebody gave you that idea? So, again, that's what brainwriting is about. That's why you set the environment. Because, again, as a technology high company, it allows us to think creatively and tap into our inner designer. As a Christian, we need to start these things with praying and ask for the Holy Spirit to give us creativity and listen. And that's why, so design thinking, a lot of stuff is doing things without talking. Because if you listen, it's like fully stocked fish pond. Yeah, that's the most important thing. So we're going to actually do it. So the normal step is, it's called 6-3-5, which is you want groups of 6 or less, just because it gets too long. You're going to spend 5 minutes each, and every person's going to come up with 3 ideas. You're going to write down your 3 ideas on Post-it notes. Everybody got a stack of Post-it notes? All right, you're going to write your ideas. Don't do anything yet. You're going to write your ideas on a Post-it note. 1 idea per Post-it note. And what is that idea? Could be a word, could be a sentence, could be a picture. Some people draw pictures. If you're not sure what to do, by the way, a picture, does anybody know how to draw a bird? Right.
This is a whiteboard. That is not a whiteboard.
All right, yeah, thank you. And actually it is, but, so, what, a bird. Everybody watching here? So most people are thinking birds. I'm going to do the little, all right, so. Does that look like a bird? If I did that and I said, we need to have birds there, everybody understand that? If I say we need to have kids. So, if you're a sketch person, you want to draw something, or if you're stuck, doodle. Because you may doodle and go, it comes to you. So, we're not going to do 6-5-3 because that would take 30 minutes. We don't have 30 minutes. So, we're going to do 3-3-3. So, find a group of 3 people. 3. Somebody in the back is going to need to come join that row there. Oh, actually, no, there's 3 people there. So you're going to be a group of 4. All right, so everybody have at least 3 Post-it notes. All right.
If you need more color, and I will throw things at you.
All right. So this is a persona, abbreviated down to make this much quicker. We have Jordan. It was Jordan. I knew it. 27-year-old female. This is, by the way, I just reused the name. 27-year-old female, college graduate, has her first job, and by I mean first job, first real job, paycheck, adulting, right? First apartment, that's her apartment. She's paying for it. No serious relationship, and we'll talk about that in a second. Debt, because she's got that student loans and the first car. You're not crushing debt, but again, everybody, from the age here, everybody's there or has been there, knows what I'm talking about. Heart, worried about money. Again, not, I have no money, just it's a constant reminder. Disappointed dating experience. That's why no serious relationship. Not for lack of trying, but somebody said dating's like level Nintendo. Troll. So, worried about the big problems of the world. So, cares about the big problems of the world. Passionate about helping people. Skeptical of institutions. So, university was probably, and go deeper in here, probably had a college professor who was a creep. So, probably went to a church where, unless you were part of the cool kids that were part of the youth group, you weren't part of that group. So, institutions over and over probably disappointed them. But 27 in debt, got that point where something's missing. Something's not right with my life. I know it's there. And probably has a church background. So again, does this sound like anybody's target? So, or does anybody know somebody like this? Everybody can relate. So, we have a church plant. By the way, this isn't me, so this is an example to get this. So, have a church plant or semi-church. Been around for a little while. Kind of reached that point where they need to grow a little more. So how can we get her to know about our newest church, meaning at a new location? So ideas for that. You're going to have 3 minutes to write down at least 3 ideas. You can write more if you want to. You can double on the piece of paper. You're going to do them just yourself. At the end of 3 minutes, I'll tell you what to do. And for a timer, well, yeah, 1 idea per second. But if you have more ideas and not enough piece of paper,
Holler at me.
yeah.
I got more Post-its.
We got more Post-it notes and stuff. So everybody have a pen. 1 per page. That's very important, 1 per page. Again, for this session, if you have more ideas, you can do 2 per pages. And don't have to be a hospital bed, can be a race car, can be a pond. So, all right, we're going to start, and you have 3-ish minutes. Yeah, it's just a big background noise. Yes, I am. Yeah, individually. So you extroverts, I know it's hard. You gotta do them by yourself. And Tori, you're blocking the screen. By the way, these can be stuff, I mean, these all, again, you don't have to be overly creative. Also do the thing, I know everybody's going to think of this. You can do the, I know everybody's going to think of this. You know. So you can do your standard Lutheran stuff that we would do, you know. I got the worship band vamping that last line for as long as they can. So, all right. So quick, was doing it to music a lot better than looking up every 5 minutes and seeing 2 minutes, 3 minutes, watching the clock. So, all right. By the way, trivia thing. So, Abide With Me. How many people have heard that version of Abide With Me, or have you heard the right? That's the original tempo. That's what how it's supposed to be sung. It's a high upbeat, right? So again, just thinking differently. All right, everybody have their list, right? This question. Now, this is the part where this is why it's cool for introverts. Introverts got to give 3 ideas. Extroverts got to give 3 ideas. So we have all these ideas. Now we're brainwriting, and this is the magic of it. You're going to take your 3 things and let your groups figure out what direction. Pass them within your group. So pass them to your left, pass them to your right. All right. All right. No. Again. No talking. No explaining. Yeah. And again, you're going to look at the. Yep. So no explaining yourself yet. So this is the next session. You're going to do the same. You're going to do the same thing again. You're going to read their little list. because you're going to read their list and go, how many people have been in a session and somebody says this, and you go, oh, you're right, and then so this is design. Look at their list, read their list, trying to understand their list, and come up with 3 more ideas. Nope. It can be based off what they put there, or you can say, I had a bunch of ideas and you stopped to, or you saw those and it's taking you a completely different tangent. That's just, use those as another way to get your brain thinking differently.
Do one idea per post-it, or
You can do one idea per post-it. You can do it to the back of theirs. You can add it. Normally, I'd have a giant stack of post-its. So, yeah. So you can write another idea on the set of post-it. But no, write on yours. If you see one of theirs and you go, that's great, but I want to add to it, you can add to it. So,
give ours back to write on our own?
yeah. No, not on your own, on theirs. Right. You're gonna do a whole. All right, everybody got it?
Yes.
All right. So this is the point where everybody's gonna pay attention to me for a second. All right. So, because the nice thing about this, yeah. Again, middle school. So you're nothing. So what did Susie say about me? Anyway, so you should have somebody else's list. Read that list. Add 3 new ideas. You should still have some post-it notes left. If you don't, raise your hand. Tori will bring you more post-it notes. Come up with 3 more ideas. They can be based on the ones you have there. They can be additions to ones they have there. They can be 3 brand new ideas because you saw those and your brain said, that's the stupidest thing. But it made me think of, so what are we going to have for lunch? And somebody said Mexican food. It's like, oh, that reminds me, I hate Mexican food because it's right next to that Chinese restaurant. Ooh, Chinese restaurant. So that's the point of it. Look at those. It's just another creativity spur. So we're going to do this one. Normally we do another 3 minutes. I'm running out of time, so we're going to do a much shorter version. So everybody ready? Everybody got it now? So 3 new ideas or more. If you don't, by the way, if you run out of ideas, doodle. The reason I say doodle is while you're doodling, you may get another idea. Kicks in another part of your brain. All right, everybody ready? Oh. So, Tori, All right, that wasn't 3 minutes. It was only a minute and a half because we're running out of time. So if you're going to do this, get a playlist. Put songs that are about 3 minutes, songs about 2 minutes. Oh. Good Cajun song for 3 minutes. So everybody got those? So normally I let you go for 3 minutes. We do it one more time. So what you want to do is have all of the things go around the group. But we don't have time to do that. Tori's going to hand out a Post-it note to each group. You're going to stick your Post-it notes on that piece of paper. So I'm going to give everybody about 2 to 3 minutes to kind of talk through your group, just so you can see some of the ideas that you came up with. But so was that very different?
Yeah.
Right. But how many? So there's 22 people here. Did everybody get at least 3 ideas? Right. Yeah. So everybody got at least 3 ideas, right? So how many ideas did we get? 66 ideas. And how long did that take? 3 minutes to get 66 ideas. We probably are close to 75 in 4 to 5 minutes. How many people have had a brainstorming session at a church where you came up with 75 ideas in 4 minutes? How many people were still trying to decide what kind of coffee you were going to have at the end of 5 minutes? So by the way, when you were doing that second set, did everybody feel a little rushed? to write things write faster? You know why? Because I'm playing that song. Dun, 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 dun. Know your playlist. Abide with Me. It's got a little peppy tune, but it's kind of slowish. Know what your music is. If you need to speed people up, you play Pirates. If you need to slow them down, you play Cajun music or bluegrass. So, and you want to have songs that are semi-familiar, so that people, when they get bored, will hum along. Because again, how many people here were thinking Pirates of the Caribbean? Because, right. All right, so now the great thing on this is, so now what? So everybody should be, so take your little Post-it notes, put them on the piece of paper. Put them on the piece of paper. And we're going to talk about what you do these. We're not, again, because I got to get this done, we're not going to actually get to do this. But the reason you want to put them on a Post-it note is at the end of the session, instead of having a giant stack of Post-it notes, I have this little sheet, and you know what I can do with these? I can roll these up, and you won't lose them if you roll them up. So that's why. So now what? You have all these ideas. We have 75 ideas. That's great. We can't do anything with 75 ideas. Remember I said broad and then focus. So what we're going to do, and again, we don't have time to do this, but some of you, I can see, already have done that because there's always somebody in the group who's that organized person. And that's why that's why I say hand it out to somebody. There's a person in your group who grabbed it, took the Post-it notes, and started putting them in an order, right? Look, so hold up yours. No, yeah, hold up that one. In colored. So people naturally will organize things. So what you want to start doing is clustering. No, it wasn't intentional. People will do it. It naturally happens. Again, people have all these abilities that they don't think about. Because again, this is where we're going to start using some of those things that are rote. So get your groups in a budget. I saw some of you people doing, talking about them. Bucket them together. You'll find out there's a couple of them where it's like, hey, we should send out an email. We should do social media. Maybe put those two together. Figure out how to combine those. Look at those. Go back to persona. What insights are there? And then look for common patterns and themes. So you can get your 66. We'll usually end up, you can probably get about 35. And then what you want to have do is, because there are people like me who I probably had to explain to everybody what I wrote on my piece of paper. And then there are other people who have the beautiful handwriting. Look at those notes. Find the person in a group or groups who have good handwriting. Take those clusters, put them on a piece of paper, and restate them. This is when you go get coffee, you take a break. Because everybody's been thinking. Remember, this is 6-5. So people with 30 minutes have been being creative. Most people aren't used to being creative for 30 minutes. Get a coffee. Have somebody organize it. Play some music. Have some cookies. Have some Play-Doh, have fidget toys, because there are some people who are going crazy, like myself, need to fidget. So have some fidget toys. You come back with this, and then it's like, okay, how do we decide what's best? Again, we could ask people, and not picking on Travis, but if you know Travis, big personality. Travis is going to get up there and say, I think that's the greatest idea, and that's the greatest. Dr. Christian is in the room. Say we were doing this at Concordia. Dr. Christian says, I think that's the greatest idea. They have a better environment there. But what do you think most people are going to do if the pastor, the president of the university says something? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or everything's going to fade out. So what you can do is go to Walmart. Get dots. Give everybody dots. You can do it two ways. You can just, everybody gets dots, or everybody gets dots, but everybody, the green dot, that's worth 5 dots. That's your golden buzzer. Make the dots the size that work. I got little ones because I have little Post-it notes. You can use the bigger Post-it notes. Make them whatever group it is. And then you do what's dot voting. And you go up there, and again, this is have cookies, snacks. This isn't, have everybody go up there and read them, spend time reading them, and vote. So again, the Travises of the world, Dr. Christians of the world are going to vote quickly. But you'll find, then people are going to cluster around though. No, because the introvert who's always mad that he gets his way is going to go over here and I'm going to move that one because nobody's voting. And somebody say, hey, nobody's voting for that. That's mine. So it's just mind-boggling that this works, but it does. And then you take there and again, you go, the ones that have the most votes, maybe not the best. Hey, that's really easy to do. Then let's talk about that. And then that's when you start doing the synthesis, and this is where I wish I had another hour to talk about, which is how can we implement this. But this will give you an idea. Then you take this back to, okay, we have an idea. We want to send emails I'm going to choose you. We're going to send emails to Connie. All right. What is an email? How do we get our email address? What does an email need to say? And you start going and focusing it back down. And then that's when you can use what's called I'll answer you. So that's when you go back to the Disney method, which is you want to look at everything from, it depends on 3 or 4 ways. As an outsider, what would they say about that idea? As the pessimist or the critic, they'll say everything that's wrong. As the dreamer, so we're going to sit it on our phone, it's just going to magically appear there. And the realist, we can't do that because that's a violation of privacy laws. But you want to look at it, and what you do is in a group of 4 people or a group of 6 people, everybody has to be all those parts. So I want you to look at this, tell me look at this from an outsider's view, and tell me and then again, helps you synthesize those things. I wish I could spend another hour, but again, just getting this group right here, how many people are excited if I said I have 65 ideas on how to read? Right. How hard was that to do? How easy could you do that? Again, 333, 653, people, it's fun to do. People get involved, and introverts get their ideas heard because everybody was an introvert for that. So how many people got new ideas from looking at other people's ideas? Kind of took them another path. Yeah, exactly. But it didn't, again, if you did something like a church, hey, we need gray walls. No, I think we need brown walls. No, the walls need to be brick. And you'll have a 40-hour discussion on walls as opposed to one discussion there and then another. It gets, ideas are all over. Yeah, and how many of the ideas are all the same thing? No, they're all over the place. That's what design thinking is about. Yes, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Is there how much time for that voting?
Yeah. Yes. A song. Pick a longer song. 4 or 5 minutes. It's again, feel the room, how big the room is, and how it's laid out. I do a little longer here because this is awkward. Because this is like a church call when you say everybody come up and lay your sins on the altar kind of things, and it's the penguin thing where there has to be the first penguin to come ashore, and then so feel the room out. Play music. Music timers are much better. Again, how many people knew when the song was over? Well, again, worship band there, so they kind of vamp the end. But you know when it's coming to an end. So it's like, the song's almost over. I got to get up there. By the way, anybody know a great 2-minute timer? Da 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 da. Exactly 2 minutes.
Who are you working with? Are you working with voted leadership people, or are you working with higher congregation? Who are you working with?
Yes. The more people we have involved, up to a point, the better. You don't want to work just with but this can work with leadership. So like in business, I'll work with a board to help the board come up with directions. Because again, from a church, you may have the board come up with, it's great we have all these people, but this is a problem we have. We need to focus it down. So you might have the board do a design thinking session. But for ours, it was everybody who could show up. The wider, because you want the person who's never been asked. Because the problem with the board is there's probably somebody, we have people in our church who've run, how long was he the head of that Boeing division? 20, 30 years, head of a Boeing division. He's not the president of the church. Probably knows as much as anybody about running a business. Running a large organization. So, we have people, so my dad was national director of Cub Scouting. Probably knows everything you'd ever want to know about volunteer groups. Never been on the board of a church. Probably knows more about nonprofits than anybody. But if you said, hey, you want to come sit in the back of the room and fill out something on a piece of paper for 3 minutes, without having the people think, well, I don't want to say anything because I have this authority, and people are going to think if I say it, it's coming from that group, or they'll just listen to me, or I'm wrong. So, yeah. So some final things here. By the way, this is what this looks like afterwards. So again, this is the building ideas. So what do we need for a building? Hobby skills workshop. That's what you first think of when you ask people what are the most important features of a church that we're doing a church building. Hobby skills workshops. Lifestyle education. Community class site. Honor vets and first responders. Those are ideas for building. That's what design thinking does. Designing is easy. Architecture can tell you this wall needs to hold 10 pounds and you need to have this much space so people can get in and out. How can we honor vets and first responders? That's what churches should be thinking about. And that's important to people in our church. And that again, that's not for Connie, that's what was important to people in the church, because that's another group we're trying to solve. So back to your question of, are you trying to reach out to all people? We're going to reach out to Connie, but we also need to understand our people there, and can we do both? And how those affect. So Honoring vets and first responders. How does that? How will Connie feel about that? She's okay. She likes the people. How would Jordan feel about that? She's got to. Yeah. So that's not going to cause any problems there.
Do you have kids participate?
Absolutely. Yes. With them. Yes, if they can be not supervised.
Are they separate?
Nope.
They're part of the
Nope. Right, because it doesn't matter. Yeah, again, so kids, middle schoolers and teenagers, mom can't be worried about the kids. Kids need to be able to sit there, write on a piece of paper. But again, kids came up with race car and Barbie cars. Middle school kids, high school kids. They are great. You do not want a table of kids because they will be kids. You want them interspersed. Thank you for doing it. Don't let couples sit together. Because they will cheat and will talk to each other. So, and in between time, so I told you not to talk. Encourage people to talk before and after, but when you're doing it, you don't want people to talk. So that's what it looks like. Again, these are the ideas came up from a building session. So, play with constraints. Stop thinking RGBIV. There are a billion colors of the rainbow, not 7. When you're thinking of ideas, and these are things you want to do actually at the start of the session. I didn't want to do this because that kind of giving away the key. What would Jesus do? What would Superman do? Or Batman or Shazam or whoever. Crazy ideas. So, and that's what it's doing. Final tips. So design thinking. Always be looking for new possibilities. That's what it's about. Not doing the same thing. Again, not doing the same thing. No, doing stuff that Jesus did. Because he was not, how are you supposed to reach people? You're supposed to set up a temple in the middle of town and people are supposed to come there with their sacrifices. That's how you reach people. You don't go in the middle of the woods and stand on a mountain and talk to people and feed them. That's crazy. Focus on people and people's people. Connie, who do you think is most important? Connie's important? Connie feels hurt, but Connie's got 2 kids. Who do you think are the most important thing in her life? Those 2 kids. And why does my daughter hate me? Because she's in middle school and she hates me. So think of the people's people too when you're doing these things. And then when you start doing this stuff, again, from these ideas, you get great ideas. Slowly make them smaller and smaller until it's something you can manage. So, and that's the innovation part, which I don't get to talk about. So, final parts here. It's a great idea, but we don't have the budget. That's not how we do things. You're right. Because if you're doing it now, you wouldn't be having the session. We don't have time. Yes, you do. Make time. Let's discuss it. This is the worst one. How many churches? Oh, let's form the committee to discuss the committee, to form the committee to decide on the problem of the committee. This is the biggest one for churches. Stop discussing things. Do it. So, and what I mean by do it, so we want to reach this giant apartment complex with Connie. There's 100 people there. We can't do that. That's 5. We think we had the perfect whatever. 5 people. Let's go see if it works there. Oh, man, they all hated us. That was the worst idea ever. The dressing up like a giant dinosaur and singing at the apartment, that was a bad idea. But we did it the day after the session, and we found out it was a horrible idea. Or we did it, and it was like, oh my gosh, we had 400 people come see the dancing dinosaur. This is the most amazing church. Do quick little things. Just do it. Just do it. Current way works just fine. No, it doesn't. If it did, you wouldn't be here. It's all right in theory, but no. I want to watch cat videos on my phone. Figure it out. Who else is doing it? We're not going to be the first. If everybody else is doing it, then everybody else has solved the problem. And if everybody else is doing it, again, don't be talking to those sinners and tax collectors. That's not what we do. Yeah, again, this is amazing that, this is brilliant stuff that only the 20th century professors have come up with, all right? And no one else will go for it. Yeah, maybe nobody in your church. That ain't who you're going for. Unless it is, but nobody will go for it. Yes, they will. And if they don't, that's important. Hey, that didn't work. I guess the clams and potato salad, feed was not a great idea. But we tried, and I bet you everybody will remember. Do you remember the year we did the clams and potato salad feed? And we'll have the great stories. There are, again, as a child, some of your greatest memories are your absolute utter failures? I mean, it's like, I cannot believe we were that stupid. Yes? Yeah? Or I guess it's just me.